Hello, everyone. I'm Dave, and I'm a TI. It's been a hell of a day trying to get this meeting arranged, and that's no joke. They were muting the phone while I was talking to him. They were messing up Zoom on his end, so he's having to call in. But we made it by the grace of God. This is Kansas TI, a former firefighter, and Kansas TI is his Twitter. If anybody would like to reach out to him after this, he's a former firefighter, and his target has started that he knows of in 2023. So the first question I'm going to ask you is, what was your life like before your targeting, and what has it been since you've been targeted?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Dave, man. I appreciate it. Life before this madness began, I was kind of coming out of my mom, putting some pieces back together from some personal family stuff. I just purchased my only and first home, and shortly after this, I actually met somebody on Facebook dating, which, yeah, don't do that.
Right.
And everything kind of went awry after that occurred. I was working for two agencies when it began, and unfortunately, with my ex, we had fallen into addiction, which kind of, I think, left the platform for some of this to start. But it really started with her. Started doing some strange things. I came home one time and was kind of cleaning up our bedroom, and I found this Google Nest that was hidden. And I thought it was really strange, and it was plugged in and it was on. And so I unplugged it and I put it somewhere. But I noticed one night putting clothes up, she had come in to the spot where she had this Google Nest. And I was kind of looking over to see what was going on, and she kind of had a look of panic that it was gone. So that kind of weird behavior kind of got the wheels turning for me. Shortly after that, she was getting in like all my old phones for some reason. It was strange, and I would ask her about it, and I wouldn't ever really get a response. And it got to the point where, the proxy stuffing and all that stuff started in, and I noticed that I was having it while I was on shift at work. I'd come home from these 48, sometimes 72-hour shifts, and it looked like my house, like she had a party in my house the whole time I was gone. It was just crazy. And it was around this time too that people started messing with my house. I think we had someone broke like the back window on my door, and I made a police report on that. And after that, anytime I had called LEO, they, dispatch would say they were sending them and they wouldn't show up. But it got to the point where I went in my basement, and I noticed that somebody was like tearing up my basement. They were like hollowing out my foundation walls and doing all kinds of crazy stuff. And when I approached her about it, I just got off the wall, off the wall response. Made no sense. So the proxy stalking continued, and I finally told her we both weren't doing well, and she wasn't trying to get sober at that time. And I said, you got to go. And of course there was an argument. Nothing happened. It wasn't violent, anything like that. I just said, you got to get your stuff and go. And it was strange off the bat because I let her move in anyway. She had told me that she was going to lose her house. And I found out after the fact, I'd spoken to her ex-husband, had said that she lost her home to drug dealers. which I don't know if that's true or not, but it kind of all started making sense when he said that. The person that I let move in I really didn't know who she was. I started finding some things out after that were pretty crazy. After she left, I had decided to stay at the fire station for a couple of weeks just because the proxy stalking was so heavy. It was so crazy. I was trying to get right, get cleaned up. And she had called me one night, and she told me, she said, the only reason you're alive right now is because of me. And then she proceeded to tell me that, I was like, well, what is going on? Why are these people following me? What is this madness? So, like, what did you do? Like, who are these people? What's going on? And she told me that it was her ex-husband, that he had previously had her proxy stalked for like 5 years. And then she gave me a list of names of people involved in my situation, as well as coworkers. And then she left me a list of like businesses that were involved too. So
Wow.
after that phone call, I started, I got online and started researching, and, the gang stalking popped up, and I found this interview, dated back to 2016, and it was here in Kansas where I'm at. And it was a journalist from Oregon who had done an interview with what I'm guessing is what's called a CBA agent here in Topeka. And you can still get online and go see it. Actually, I think I actually have it on my X account. But it explained the ins and outs of this program. So to an extent, I read the interview and I was like, wow, this is pretty wild, but this is everything I've had happening to me. And I printed that out, and my coworkers had seen what I was going through. And instead of reaching out and being like, hey man, like, I know you're not doing well, let's get you some help, let's get you cleaned up, let's get you fixed up. It just kind of went along with it, like almost became like part of it. It was really discerning looking back. And I printed that interview out I had found, and I took it to somebody higher ranking than me, and I showed it to him, and it just pretty much fell on deaf ears. And it was kind of at that time that I realized that they were tied into this, and it wasn't just me, that it was much bigger than just me.
Right. When you found the Google Nest, did you ever ask her about it?
I did, and she gaslit me.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm like, oh, I do. I know what I'm talking about. I know what I found. You know what I mean? And I caught her recording me more than once. It was just strange. I just didn't understand what the purpose was at that time. She was trying to gather information or what she was doing. She was obviously, saw me as a target.
Right. Did she release any information out about why they did it to you?
No. What she did do during this time period is she went to a fire station that I don't work at here in Topeka, and at 3 a.m, and she told the on-duty staff that I was gassing her, I was trying to kill her, I was stalking her. And when they had asked if she wanted to file a police report, she just said no, turned around and walked out and left. And shortly after that, I was told that she took off to California with somebody involved in drugs that she had dated before. And this was probably about 2 weeks after I'd asked her to leave my home. And so she left to California, and all this stuff kept on going for me. I was still being proxy stalked. And at this time is when I started getting the hacking on all my devices, mail tampering, things like that. Like I said, I stayed at the fire station for a while, and then I moved in with a friend to get cleaned up, get straight and get things right. And finally came back to my house I had purchased, and they had completely redone my electrical. They changed out like all my light and electrical sockets, replaced all my incandescent bulbs with LED bulbs. And then I went to my basement. It was even more torn up. And I'm not fairly sure whatever occurred had to do with her, because I found an article of her clothing down there that was not there beforehand. So they were in and out of my house doing some work, apparently.
Right. Then they say them LED bulbs, and the LED bulbs can data mine and do all kinds of stuff. I know there's a certain brighting, whatever you call them, switches, that dimmer switch. There's a certain one, when I go under it, I get heated up very, very bad. I have to get my cap every time I sit this certain spot, and I start profusely sweating. Nobody else does, but I do. And
Right.
that could be from electrosensitivity, but I'm convinced it's from being attacked.
Oh, absolutely. And there was I've done some research, and if you guys look into plasmonics and optogenetics and optogenics, there's not just patents, but actually things that they're testing that has to do with LED lighting reacting with our bodies. Like you said, these LED lights can carry information. They're like small computers, so they can be linked. They can do all kinds of wild stuff with them, right?
Yep.
I got rid of all my LED bulbs. It's hard to find incandescence anywhere. I think there's a reason and a purpose for that, obviously.
Well, Trump did. Amy told me Trump did. On her interview, Trump did make it where you can buy them again.
Yes, I just saying in my area, I can't find them.
Oh,
I'm sure.
I figured, huh? So, do you notice anything did you notice a different feeling in your house when you came back and it was all LED and stuff? Is there any certain feelings you noticed, like, wow, this is different than what it was before?
Yep. That artificial tinnitus was out of this world. And the longer I've been a TI, I've kind of figured out what that is now to an extent. I obviously, at the time, I still had insurance. I went to ear, nose, and throat, and I'm having the tinnitus the whole time through the whole thing. And he comes in the room and he's like, "You have perfect hearing. There's absolutely nothing wrong with you." I could just tell, I could just kind of tell by his demeanor. I'm like, "Yeah, this is just part of it." You know what I mean? Like, I could tell that he wasn't going to give me the truth. So.
Right. Oh, with your line of work, did you ever see anything? Did you ever witness anybody participating in it?
When I was on shift, I constantly got the gaslighting. I got the bait and switch. People would get in my car while I was on shift overnight. They would move stuff around in my foot locker, stuff like that. But mostly the gaslighting and the bait and switch. It got to it got to a point where we went on certain calls, and it almost seemed like some of these calls were staged. It's just my personal opinion, but there are a couple that I could tell that they were TIs, whether they're under the influence or not. I could kind of sense that these people were being targeted, and it's, looking back, hindsight 2020, watching my coworkers at the time in LEO do that, I kind of got a up close and personal show of how they they do things, and it's just not right. So
Right. And you were laying down your life fighting fires for this country, and all because, the way it seems is this person came in your life, and basically wrecked a tornado. And then, do you think she was part of it the whole time before she even came in your life?
yes, absolutely. I think that she was uh, sent in. I mean, I don't know how else to explain it. I think that she was sent in to get this thing kick started. She, I had mentioned that she left for California, and I had talked to her, and apparently, whether this is true or not, I don't know. Looking back, but she had gone to rehab and these things, and so she came back for a moment back here in December, and I saw her for, gosh, I think just like a month, a little over a month maybe. But when she came back, she returned one of my old phones that I didn't even know was gone, which is weird. It was almost a year and a half since I asked her to leave. And she also had taken this huge tote or tub of all my family photos. And it's a big tote. It's not just like, oops, I picked this up thinking it was mine. And that was missing the whole time, and she brought it back. So it makes me wonder if she had taken that to whoever she's working for or with to contact my family. They use all the means they have to contact the circle around you to try and infiltrate, and who knows what they told them. Smear campaigns go heavy. I mean, that's something they like to use just to discredit you. So that's no secret.
Wow.
But got to a point with her when she had come back. I was just like, you told me that your ex-husband was involved. You told me all these people were involved, and I think she came back because she realized that she had accidentally told me the truth, and it was kind of backpedaling to cover that up. And again, I cut ties with her, and since then, it's all been the same, dog and pony show with the proxy stalking and the mail and the hacking, and they're messing with my car,
Right. And you're totally blacklisted now, right?
Yeah, I haven't been able. I'm still listed on the agency I was with as part-time, but I'm not getting shifts anymore. And I've applied other places to no avail. It's kind of like we had spoke about earlier. Topeka's kind of like a big little city, so everybody knows everybody, kind of like you said. To an extent, it's I'm not saying this works in my favor, but it's small enough that it's been going on long enough. I know everyone who's somewhat involved in like my proxy stalking. It's the same people, same cars driving by at the same times every day. If I'm at home, I'm seeing the same cars and people. If I'm out running errands or whatever I'm doing, it's got to the to the point where faces are familiar.
Has there ever been anybody that so you're totally black, so and I know what you said about your family. Did you have any friends did all your friends just like mysteriously just start acting weird towards you?
Yep, that occurred, and then they all kind of disappeared. So the social circle I had is gone. There was a time when I left the fire agency I was working for full time before I went part time there. I went to an ambulance company, and really when I started working with them, I would work 24-hour shifts, and it was they'd work mob you and they gaslight you, and they'd make like the whole shift. They'd be making pedophile jokes and all this other stuff, really gaslighting you. And it was also there, the way that the station was set up. I would go to sleep, and had tinnitus, and I'd wake up, and I got picture evidence of this, but my face would be burnt to a crisp. Like it looked like I sat out in the sun for 2 hours. All around my eyes would be burnt. The top of my scalp was burnt. Even my hair, there was a period where my hair started falling out. And I
That's
think
a
I was
main
with them.
sign of radiation.
Right. And yeah, that went on. I was with them for about 4 or 5 months, and it got to the point where I just kind of figured out that they were involved, so it was time to step back. And since then, been left in a position where all I have left is to speak out about this and expose this. And it's we all got to work together to get this thing out there, and get this thing shut down.
Right. And again, I thank you for your bravery. Have you ever experienced like a V2K?
Yeah, I have had it. I've had it in almost like self-dialogue. But it's been going on long enough. Ways around it, and just kind of ignore it.
Yeah. And also for the handpan, for the tinnitus, Holly had tinnitus, a bad case, really bad. Like I get, like the last week I told her, like I've been hearing like it's a nonstop cricket thing now. I mean, it was just pressure, popping and all that, but so she had ocean roaring in her ears, and alternative recommended me to use handpan music, and there's a certain person, I'll send you the link, and when we listened to that, like her stuff went totally away, and mine did too, and it helps with my V2K also.
Well, I'll definitely check that out. Yeah, that would be awesome.
Yeah, it's a certain person. His name is Malty Martin, but I will send you a link after this. It's very good to listen to, especially when you're doing stuff around the house. That way you could, it's bearable.
Yeah, anything and everything helps.
Can you remember the guy's name that was in Kansas that you watched his first interview? Was it Andrew?
The what now?
The first interview you watched that let you know you were a TI and what was going on, and the one you were talking about at the beginning.
The name of my ex-girlfriend's ex-husband.
No, you said you watched the interview with somebody from Kansas that was in Oregon or something like that.
I don't have it on me. It's on my X.
Okay.
I pulled it up underneath the Chosen Heroes thing, but it was there's a bunch of commentary outside of the interview on the article. If you go into Google and you put in gang stalking Topeka, Kansas, it pops up as this petition. Click on that petition and you go down and read all the comments. It's from back in 2016. There's people, PIs on there, talking about the stuff happening to them. And I know it's been going on for years and years, I know that. But what was something else that kind of caught my eye was the area that these TIs were talking about on this commentary was in the exact area where my fire station was. So that kind of made more sense to me.
Now,
so it's the whole thing, but yeah.
So would you say that? But not. Would you say ever firefighters involved or no?
I can't say that.
Okay.
I don't know that for a fact, and I'm not gonna.
Right, because there may be substations that they're like, all right, here, this is an experiment we're doing. We're going to do this. That's the way I've always been on my show. I like to think that there's good people in this world.
Right. I can tell you, I didn't have a clue what this was before it happened to me, and I'd been firefighting for probably 3-4 years at that point, and I can say that for any normal person, you can, I know as TIs, we think at our situations, sometimes we're just like, wow, this is crazy. You know what I mean? But it's real. and it's actually happening. And it's not just, you know, the weaponization of medical industry goes along with this, psychiatry and stuff like that. But as far as LEO and fire being involved, here's what I do know about Kansas. And what I've done, have a paper trail for myself, is I sent cease and desist letters to the Attorney General's office and cease and desist letters to the Fusion Center in my area and to the director of that, Justine Frakes, and Chris Kobach is our Attorney General here. But I certified mailed them. They showed up. They have them. So I have that, and they also, you know, if you can do it, I know a lot of TIs can't, but you know, use the X platform, Substack, anything like that. Try and tag government officials, whether they look at them or not. You know, it's a toss up, but it's better than nothing, right? I know here in Kansas, how this is run, and from what I've been able to find, is it's run through DHS and KBI, and your name goes in. They do background on you, check you out, put you in the program, send it out to the fusion centers, and then it's incorporated with Citizen Court and InfraGard. And I don't think it's any secret that LEO and fire are part of those systems. Once that goes out, it's implemented to here where I'm at. I know there's community policing program. I know there's neighborhood watch and all those. The one here is called Citizens Academy, or COPPS here in Kansas. If anyone wants to look that up, you can pop right up. But they're running it under the guise of community policing through the Citizens Academy. And so they get people in, and they're, who knows, you know, the smear campaign adds to it. So they can tell these people anything they want. So some of these people may think they're actually doing the community good when they're actually terrorizing somebody. You know, there's bad apples everywhere. And it's gotten to the point where this is so, like I explained, it's so entrenched. There's actual gangs or small, like, rogue groups that take these contracts for profit and come after you. So, you know, all the proxy stalking and gang stalking, all that stuff, it's almost like a video game. You know what I mean? It's turned into this game, you know, but obviously it's not a game. We're playing with people's lives. I know, I'll know at least 4 or 5 people that I'm fairly certain committed or unalived themselves due to the fact that they were in this program and had no idea about it. I've been able to put some puzzle pieces together and kind of figure that out, but it's like this everywhere. You know, this is across the nation. It's a global issue, and yeah, it's an ugly machine, man.
And anybody participating, you know, my grandpa and my dad were big sayers to this, saying, contempt prior to investigation brings pure ignorance. So, you know,
Right.
if you're told, you know, you can be told bad stuff about people and believe it and go act on it as a vigilante. But in the end, you know, you might be hurting a good person who's full of love, who's actually a good person, you know, and then
Exactly.
even if that person did make mistakes in their life, it don't mean they're a bad person and that they deserve to be blacklisted and have their life end, but be alive at the same time. I mean, that's basically like it
Right.
is. You're shunned by everybody. Uh,
Yes.
and it's like you're living and you're not recognized. It's just crazy. Oh,
You are. You're turned into a second-class citizen. You lose. You know, it's a gross, negligent abuse of civil and human rights, especially in these smaller, big cities where they can, you know, it's entrenched. They're all working together. You know, it's hard to get a foot up, especially when you've been blacklisted. You know, it gets even uglier when you start blowing the whistle and things like that. But it's really got to be done. Like kind of like I had said, we're left in a position at this point where all I can do is speak out about this. I'm not going to stay silent when you're taking everything from me. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'm,
and
you know, I'm a human being.
social credit score is already here. It's just under the guise of these programs. That's basically what it is, a social credit score.
Right. And I understand that they're trying to rein some of that stuff in, and technology's moving fast, and it's all tied. It seems to be all tied in together. You know what I mean? The more research you do, you see it.
Right. Now, do you have any idea why this started for you, or why they sent her, or anything like that?
Um, Not offhand. Like I said, I kind of fell into some addiction, um, and it, I mean, that's the only thing I can think of is that I wasn't doing well as far as that went. But, even it continued even after I got cleaned up. Um, and thinking in hindsight, it's in the condition I was in, it's really crazy to me that, my coworkers didn't offer a hand when I said the things were happening. They didn't pull out the you're crazy crazy card. They just kind of went with it. I don't know how to explain that. They just, they were part of it. And but kind of like I was telling you, like here last week, I saw one of my coworkers, another firefighter, was proxy stalking me while I was out running errands, and he definitely wanted to make his presence known. So, they're 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 everywhere.
Right. Could you explain like your isolation and how they came about creating the situation where you're isolated?
Yeah,
Have you always been a loner, or?
um, I've always kind of been a homebody, and I've kept to myself. I would say that, I'm different in the aspect of I'm not a part of the good old boys club. I'm a little different. I got, compared to your typical, military LEO kind of guys. Um, I really just got into firefighting and my AEMT because I wanted to help people. And yeah, my both of my biological parents are deceased. My dad is a Vietnam vet. My grandparents are deceased, and I'm not close with my siblings. So it's almost to an extent, from other TIs I've talked to and research I've done, people like me are the perfect candidates because they can pull the stuff, plausible deniability, and they can shut down your social circle. So where it is just you, and that's what they want. They want the isolation. They want you isolated. You're more susceptible to what they're doing. If you're alone, you don't have outside interference with what they're doing. But I've been able to kind of move to where I am by reaching out in the TI community and talking to people and getting on X and things like that. So
Right. And I'm trying to think. Have you ever, I like that the situation I described with the shoes. Have you ever had somebody kind of give it away, or you could tell felt bad for what they were doing? Have you ever seen that? I mean, I've seen it many times over the years. They would never admit it, but you could tell, man, this person felt real bad for having to do this.
yeah, there's been a couple people, I won't name exactly who they are, but
Right.
I know they know. They know that I know that they're involved. And I didn't talk about it directly with him, but, I kind of said, I was like, there will be a point in time where some of the people doing this willingly and knowingly, they'll have to answer for it. You know what I mean?
Right.
And yeah, you can see the looks on their faces or the guilt. I think my personal opinion is right now, you know, if you're following things, Tulsi and appealing the Patriot Act and Rand Paul, bringing up the Quiet Skies thing, you can kind of sense that there's, you know, probably a little bit of panic going on with some of these people. I didn't realize how big this program was, you know, obviously until I got put in it. But this is, yeah, I mean, it's huge. I didn't realize that some of these proxy stalkers and stuff, like, they've been doing this for some of them for like 20 plus years. I think this is how they have, you know, you don't know what they do for a living, but they got these nice properties and these trucks and all these things, but they don't have like a title. You don't know where they work, you know, things like that. There's a lot of that kind of in the more rural areas. You can tell who's involved and who's not.
My bad. I had myself muted. The cat was in the Mylar. Trying to think of what else I was going to ask you. So, how do you, could you explain your direct energy attacks and kind of when I watched your other interview, the AW, what is it, AWS?
AWS, yeah.
Yeah.
Amazon AWS, it's called Amazon AWS one box deployment. I really, you know, I haven't gone deep into it, but I researched it on Google, and it is. They send you, it's like a system that they can hook up in your home. It'd be awesome if another TI would kind of deep dive on this. They use GitHub too. DHS uses GitHub and lets other people use it as well. But they can kind of control your electrical grid. And there's patents to this, and it's you know, from the government on paper. It's not like I'm making this stuff up, but they go through your smart meter, and your smart meter is hooked up obviously to your power lines. If we all look around, aside from all the angry looking 5G towers that gone up while they had us in lockdown, if you look on all the telephone poles, all those thick black wires, those round, some are round, like round boxes. You say it's fiber optics, and say it's Wi-Fi. They can, you know, we can call it a million different things, but they're part. The comm system is part of the system, and I think the Amazon AWS one box deployment is something they use to do some of this stuff to us. I
will
get
research that more in the coming weeks.
Yeah, it's kind of telling. And the reason I caught on to the AWS Amazon one box deployment is I was going through a tablet of my ex's, and she was moving out, and I found an email from her ex-husband, and his email address was his name at onebox.com. And I had all that at that time, you know, I didn't know what was going on. Things were still fresh, and, you know, they were making everything crazy. But I looked up Amazon AWS, started looking further into it, and further down the line now, it all kind of makes a little bit more sense how it goes together. So that's what initially had me looking at what that was.
Do you think they set that up when you came back to your home and it was all rewired and stuff?
Right. So when I kind of put two and two together, that may be something that they're using in my home. Like it, you know, I get the zap like anyone else, just sitting around. When I try to go to bed, I get the tinnitus. Yeah, big snaps and pops when it comes through in my home, like the walls snap and pop. I could have a water bottle sitting next to me, and it snaps and pops for no reason. It's obvious to me and us because we have an idea of what's going on. But when these things come through and I get hit, you get those snaps and pops, and dogs start barking. Like there's just certain things that occur, and you're getting hit. Aside from heating up on the inside and in pain, it's no fun. That's for sure.
Right. So have you ever had like cracks on the ceiling and then you feel the sensation?
Correct.
Yeah. I wonder, have you ever, do you remember any of the, I was trying to read something, but I'm trying to find it here. Once they see what you respond to emotionally or intellectually, they will fabricate conversational or situational scenarios, street theater based on events or topics they know will capture your attention. And the reason they have to capture your attention is for the remote neuromonitoring data, because they're trying to build a cognitive model of your brain or a digital twin. So, do you remember any incidences of street theater like they might they'll pull in your driveway, and then they'll go to all the way to the other side of the car, act like they're getting something out, and then they'll go back to the other side of the car, act like they're getting something out, then they'll pull out of the driveway, and then they'll go to the stop sign, then they'll go back to the car and get out. Just different stuff they do around here to capture your attention for remote neuromonitoring data. There's other stuff they've done and it's just to capture your attention. Do they do any acts like that? Any street theater acts that you can specifically give an example of something they pulled like that on you?
Oh yeah, you get the driving. It's all of a sudden you pull out onto the street and there's 20 cars behind you. And they all got their headlights. They're brighting you. But most, there's always somebody walking down the street. They got on like a red heavy, stuff like that. I used to get the line of white cars. I've been in multiple situations where they try to box me in and create an accident. You're kind of moving to your lane to get you to, jerk your wheel. That happens quite a bit here.
What about like in stores? I had a leg injury in 2022, and so I walk on my left heel, and Holly went in the gas station, and this woman was laughing and walking on her heel like I walk, and that was about around the time when we had first got together, but you could tell she was laughing and just trying to mock me.
Right. Yeah. I used to pay attention to that stuff, man, and anymore when I go, I just totally ignore it. I just
That's
try to
good.
box everything and get done what I'm doing. It's silly. It's comical. It's silly. It's kind of kooky and it's kind of silly. After a while, you're just like, yeah, same old.
Right, and that's good that you've learned to ignore it for the most part, because they're wanting reactions for, like I said, they're trying to build digital twins, and the remote neuromonitor measures what reaction you have, and there's quite a few reasons they do it. It's distress, keep you in distress, stuff like that.
Right.
Have you ever had any incidences like one time somebody pulled up at a gas station with Holly and asked her if she was in distress? Yeah, are you in distress yet? When her targeting first started, they pulled up at the gas station, said, "Hey, are you in distress yet?" Or, "Holly, are you in distress yet?"
Oh, yeah. When this first started for me, there were all kinds of situations because I was freaking out. It had people sit outside my house, like leaning on the front hood of their car. I didn't have a clue who they were. This is how I knew my ex was involved, because when all this stuff was going on, she was all cool, calm, and collected.
Honeypot.
Yeah, honeypot.
Yeah, total honeypot. Absolutely.
Yeah, and
bits
I
to cut.
definitely think my handler was put in my life, but was already planned out before for me to meet her and all that.
Yeah.
So I definitely know that. What would you, let me see, how has this affected your health? And we have to be careful because of, what we discussed before, but like nausea, no energy, stuff like that.
Yeah. The sluggish energy, the no motivation. I fight through that stuff daily, just like everybody else. Um, there's times because my there's my kids' parents or my kids' moms, I think are involved in my situation. It's hard to have a relationship with my kids. Um, they just infiltrate every single thing that keeps you going, and they try to destroy it. And emotionally for me, um, and that's why I'm pushing so hard back so hard right now. It's at a point where the only thing left to do is speak out about this, and hopefully get people rallied up so we can get something moving. You know what I mean? But for me, I do a lot of I take salt baths. Um, you take a salt bath to get out. And I remember the first time I did it, I got out. And I was clean. I got into the salt bath clean, and I got out, and there was just muck all over the bottom of my tub. And it was crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Um,
I remember,
stuff.
go ahead.
No, you go
Oh, I
ahead.
remember when in 2023 I was getting hit so hard, and I was resulting in Epsom salt baths, and Holly brought me this like really really good Epsom salt, like I forgot what it's called, like Dr. Scholl's or something, 2 big bags of it for my birthday. And I
Oh,
was happy to get that for my birthday. I was ecstatic. I was taking baths, and I was going through a real tough time as far as direct energy weapon attacks.
yeah,
And I was very happy for that, So, and ain't that crazy to be happy to get 2 things of Epsom salt?
yeah, and it's well. I'll say the good things that have come out of this. There's not many, but I've definitely gotten closer to God, which is something I struggled with pretty much my whole life. Um, there was a time when I reached out to somebody I was working with who at the time I thought had my best interest at heart, but he did not. But he kind of interesting story. He got me to start going to these OCIA classes at a Catholic church here where I live, and I had like a sponsor to get me through these classes. So to become Catholic, I'm baptized Lutheran, but you know, um, but the further I went, I kept going to these classes, and I was being proxy stalked on the way to these classes. And these people were pulling into the church parking lot and going into my classes. So I became very aware that some of these churches are involved, and I'd be sitting there in these classes, and I'd be getting hit with DEW and stuff. And shortly before I told my sponsor, I was like, I just told him, I said, I'm going through some things. I don't think this is for me. I found out that I had no idea, but his father-in-law was someone who was in the upper echelons of the fire service, which to me was kind of ironic. Like, oh, what a coincidence kind of thing. So it turned me off to the Catholic side of things because, as I stated, I think some of these churches here all around are infiltrated and involved. But I think all TIs have had that day or days, nights, whatever, where that's all you got. All you can do is pray. And I'm lucky enough I made it this far. And really, really, more than anything, I want to expose this because I can't imagine what if my son makes a mistake in the future and this program's a basis for how things are going to be, and he's going through what I'm going through. I can't leave this place knowing that could happen to him. It's or my other kids. It's crazy. You know what I mean? So gotten really a great personal relationship with God out of this. So I'm thankful for that one part of it.
Now, I think a lot of TIs will be able to relate to that. I know it's made me closer to God, and I really don't think it's fair that this country is one of the most flooded with drugs or than any other country. And if somebody goes and messes up on drugs and gets clean, even if they don't get clean and struggle, they should not be targeted, blacklisted, hunted down like dogs and stuff like that, and just pushed over the brink because one person decides or a group of people decide that, hey, we're going to do this to this person. I just don't think it's fair. It's playing God. And I feel like God will vindicate all of us in the end. And any of my viewers are into the Bible, read Psalms 20. Me and Holly read it yesterday. It's a very powerful prayer, in my opinion, from David. I have one more question, and we can end this. And it's a real serious question. What message would you say to my audience today as far as targeting, or any tips you'd like to give them as far as how you deal with your targeting? How you deal with being blacklisted, how you deal with going through this, how you look at things, your outlook on things. Because every target that watches my stuff pulls little nuggets out of, each target's got little nuggets that they use and stuff that helps them. So I ask every target this.
Okay. I would say more than anything, stay true to yourself. I think through my targeting, I've gotten to know who I am as a person. It's made me stronger. Stay true to yourself. It's really hard some days, especially when they're out there and they're creating, like we've spoken about, the street theater in these scenarios, or your family's gaslighting you. Just do your best to ignore it and move in grace. It's not easy. Especially when they're taking everything from you, and the days just seem endless. Just stay true to yourself, no matter what. Don't react. Be polite. Be as cordial as possible, because their MU is to get you, as most of you guys know, locked up in jail, thrown in a mental institution, or get you to unalive yourself. You stay true to yourself and you keep your circle small, and you can just move around this the best you can and expose it while doing that. That's what I do. It's one of the only reasons I'm still here is I know for a fact myself, I know that this program is very real, very insidious, and it's just absolutely got to end. And stay prayed up, man. Like, give it to God, because regardless of how this goes or ends or gets exposed, all these people are going to have to answer in the end to the big man upstairs. So, yeah.
Well, thanks for that. And do you care if I read Psalms 20 before we end this?
No, please do.
Okay, it says, "May the Lord answer you when you're in distress. May the name of God of Jacob protect you. May he send you help from the sanctuary and grant you support from Zion. May he remember all your sacrifices and accept your burnt offerings. May he give you the desire of your heart and make all your plans succeed. May we shout for joy over victory and lift up our banners in the name of God. May the Lord grant all your requests. Now this I know, the Lord gives victory to his anointed. He answers him from heavenly sanctuary with the victorious power of his right hand. Some trust in chariots and some in horses, but we trust in the name of our Lord God. They are brought to their knees and fall, but we rise up and stand firm. Lord, give victory to the King. Answer us when we call. Amen. And I'm going to end this and we can say our goodbyes. I really appreciate you being brave enough to come out, man. And I will add you. We have when we get off here, we have a list that we pray for TIs, and we don't, if we tell somebody we pray for them, we don't like just telling them that and just forgetting, So we'll add you to the list about your situation. I hope it gets better.
Absolutely. I sincerely appreciate it, man.
No problem. And I'm going to stop the recording and we can say our goodbyes.